Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the EOB Podcast. So last weekend we have the release of 4 movies. We have Disney's Christopher Robin's. It is a live action / CGI adaptation of the children's character and book. And then we have the comedy The Spy Who Dumped Me, starring Mila Kunis and Kate McKinnon. And then we have The Darkest Minds, which is the YA adaptation of kind of like a sci-fi thriller. And then finally we have the documentary Death of a Nation, which has a more conservative slant. Let's see how those movies did at the box office. All right, so let's get started. Coming in number 1 is a Mission Impossible Fallout, starring Tom Cruise. This is the 6th Mission Impossible movie. It pulled in $35 million over the weekend. Drop off is about 42% from the previous weekend, so which is a really good hold in the second weekend. So I think this movie is gonna continue to hold up. I mean, the movie is very well reviewed, 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, A Cinema Score. Domestic gross right now is 124 million. And let's see, worldwide it's at 329 million, 205 of that from overseas. All right, let's move on to number 2, which is Disney's Christopher Robin's. The movie pulled in 24.6 million in its opening frame. This is a movie that I thought could open in the 30 to 35 million range, but it fell short of that. And I think mainly because it is Winnie the Pooh movie. I said in the previous podcast that Winnie the Pooh as a movie just doesn't generate that much interest because the previous 2 animated movies only opened to maybe 7 or 8 million respectively. So you can see that there's not like a huge interest in Winnie the Pooh movie because those movies are more gentler fare, more innocent fare. They don't have a lot of action set pieces like other children's movies. It's not The Incredibles, for example, right? It stars Ewan McGregor, and as you can see from the trailer, it's targeted toward more like for the adults rather than children. And the reason why I said it could probably open to 30 to 35 million is because I believe in the marketing muscle of Disney. But even then, they failed to generate the hype for this movie. And 25 million is kind of okay-ish, right? And not a huge opening for a movie, but the movie only cost 75 million to make, so it's gonna do okay, right? I mean, it's probably gonna, depending on how well it holds up, it could probably pull in somewhere between 80 to 100 million domestically. Let's see how the movie did worldwide. It hasn't opened that wide yet. Only 5 million from the overseas, so not that wide, for a total for worldwide gross of 29 million. So Christopher Robin, live action adaptation, but there's only so much you can do with a Winnie the Pooh movie, especially considering that they try to keep the movie or the theme of the movie more innocent, right? So I think that's why it's limiting. It's kind of like Pete the Dragon. Let's see how that movie did. That movie opened to 21 million and pulled in, domestically 76 million, and worldwide at not the high too, was 143 worldwide, 67 million of that from the overseas. So you can see that Pooh is kind of like on the trajectory of Pete's Dragon. I mean, depending on how well it holds up, it might reach 100, or it might be like I say 80 to 100 million. It could be it could be on the lower end of that. So we'll see how its second weekend is. All right, let's move on to number 3, which is The Spy Who Dumped Me. It is the Lionsgate comedy, R-rated, starring Mila Kunis and Kate McKinnon. About a woman who found out that ex-boyfriend who dumped her is CIA, and she got embroiled into his world, and they get shot at, chased, etc. They want to get to her so that they can get to him. So there you go. For The Spy Who Dumped Me, it pulled in 12.1 million in this opening frame. So this movie is not that well reviewed, only about 39% on Rotten Tomatoes and a B Cinema score. So it might not have staying power because it didn't open that high, and review wise it's kind of poor, 39% for a movie like this, especially target toward the female crowd. But we'll find out more in the second weekend. All right, let's move on to number 4. It is the musical Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. I pulled in 9 million in its third weekend, 40% drop off, another low drop off, right? Made 90 million domestic so far, 91 million domestic so far, and 230 million worldwide. Budget's only 75 million. So another successful entry in this genre. Is a musical genre. Like I said, it doesn't matter if this is a sequel or not, right? But people are out there, going to musical for a good time, right? Especially when, popular music is involved. I'm not seeing a third movie out of this, by the way, because they could, but since they're mining ABBA songs, I don't think they have that many, and the plot might get stale a bit, right? But we'll see, right? I mean, they can do something with it if they want to, but I don't see it. All right. Number 5 is the Equalizer 2, which is the Denzel Washington actioner. It pulled in about 8.8 million in its third weekend. Domestic gross right now is about nearly 80 million, and worldwide is at 87 million since it hasn't opened that wide overseas. All right, let's see. Let's move on to number 6, which is Hotel Transylvania 3 Summer Vacation. 80 million in its fourth weekend. Drop off is about 35%. Domestic gross is 136 million, and worldwide is at 337 million already, and the budget is only 80 million. So another successful entry in the Hotel Transylvania franchise. So we're going to see more Hotel Transylvanias. All right. Number 7 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. It pulled in 6.4 million. In its fifth weekend, drop off 27 million. So domestic gross is 195 million, and worldwide it is at 426 million. 231 of that from the overseas take. Already, the second movie is the higher grossing movie of the two. The first Ant-Man grossed 180. Ant-Man and the Wasp already grossed 195. But worldwide is still lagging a bit behind. The first Ant-Man worldwide is at 519, and Ant-Man and the Wasp that's at 427. So it still has some ways to go, and we'll see if it opens in China yet. Let me take a quick look. It hasn't opened in China, so once it opens in China, the foreign take will inch up higher. So this still has a chance to catch up to the first Ant-Man once it opens, over in that huge territory. All right. Now let's move on to number 8, which is one of the new releases. It's the YA sci-fi thriller The Darkest Minds, starring some people that you might not heard of. It stars Amanda Steinberg, who was in Everything, which did well, which did okay, right? And Harris Dickinson. And this movie is directed by Jennifer Young Nelson, who directed Kung Fu Panda 2 and 3. This is her kind of like live action debut, and it's not doing well, right? The movie only pulled in 5.8 million in its opening frame. Budget's only 34 million. Considering the lowest budget and how well it holds up, it might do okay. But then again, we're talking about the YA genre right now, and as we talked about the genre, that in recent years it hasn't been doing well. These movies in the YA genre, especially sci-fi themed ones, hasn't been doing well. With the Maze Runner, Divergent. I mean, they did okay, but not blockbuster wise. And then you throw in a property that doesn't have the mind share of Maze Runner or the Divergent series or even the Hunger Games. That's what you see with The Darkest Minds. And then you throw in someone who's not that well known, so the pull is not there, right? The draw is not there. So that's why we see The Darkest Mind as only 5.8 million. And review wise, it's not good. 19% on Rotten Tomatoes, B Cinema score. So it doesn't look like the second weekends is gonna be any better, because I don't see the word of mouth for this movie, right? So there you go. I think it's only gonna drop on huge from there, right? But low numbers, right? Even though it's dropped 50%, it's gonna still 2 million second weekend. So not good for the darkest minds. All right. Number 9 is The Incredibles 2. It pulled in about 5 million over the weekend. It's already in its 8th week and already, and domestic gross is 583 million. And let's see, worldwide it is over a billion. And as I said previously, Incredibles 2 is the highest grossing Pixar movie domestically. Hey, congratulations to Brad Bird, right? All right, let's close out the top 10s with Teen Titans Go to the movies. It pulled in 4.8 million in its second weekend, so drop off is about 54%. It then opened up that high. It only opened to about 10.4 million, and as I said, it's a huge challenge for these TV properties that make the transition to the big screen, and especially that's one that's targeted toward the younger set, right? I mean, not a huge motivation for fans to go out to watch something that they could see on the small screen. So that's why we see the movie opening not that high and a huge drop off second weekend. So those who've seen it probably go out on the first weekend, and what we're having are seeing in the subsequent weekends or laggers. So not a good thing for Teen Titans Go to the movie. So I'm not sure if they're going to make another Teen Titans Go movie given the lowish take. But then again, hey, the budget's only 10 million. What I'm saying is that maybe they made a cartoon series, the cartoon show, and they expanded the running time to make this into a movie and release a movie version, increase the running time. There you go, bam, a movie. So the budget, that's why the budget is only 10 million. Let's see, how did it do overseas? It hasn't opened that wide overseas yet. Only a couple territories of 2 million that from overseas take. For a worldwide total of 23 million. So as you can see, Teen Titans Go is not a huge property movie for movies. They'll probably release it on home video. I think that's the target, right? This is advertisement for the DVD, and they are going to release more straight to video titles based on this strategy. All right, so that's it for the top 10. Of note is the documentary Death of the Nation. Like I said, a documentary with a conservative slant who equates, the filmmaker equates liberals the Democratic Party to Nazis and racists, etc. And that the conservative movement that's going on is to save the country from the Democrats. Surprisingly, this movie pulled in about 2.4 million. I said the movie could open to somewhere between 3 to 5 million because because there is a conservative audience out there, and like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it opened like up in the 5 million range. But hey, it pulled in about 2.4 million, which is still kind of there, right, within my lower end of my range, right? I say 3 to 5. It pulled in 2.4. So surprisingly, since there is an audience out there who drinks the Kool-Aid, there you go, Death of a Nation. All right, that rounds out the top 10. Let's move on to the new releases. We have one that's opening on a Wednesday, and that is Dog Days. And then we have the new Spike Lee joint, BlacKkKlansman. And then Slender Man, the horror movie, and The Meg, which is the shark movie starring Jason Statham. Okay, let's start off with Dog Days. What can I say? It's a movie that has a lot of dogs. It's starring Vanessa Hudgens, Nina Dobrev, who was in the Flatliner reboot, Lauren Lapkus, and Eva Longoria is in it, and Tig Notaro, the comedian. And it's directed by Ken Marino. He did How to Be a Latin Lover. So talented guy, right? He's an actor, writer, director, producer, but he did Dog Days, a movie, I guess, whose biggest star is not starring Eva Longoria, right? We have Vanessa Hudgens, which is kind of like the lead actress here, and it's about desperate stories, and then about dogs bringing all these people together. I I don't see this movie being huge, you know. So it's opening on Wednesday. I can see that for 3 day weekend, it's gonna pull in 5 million. 5 days, it's gonna bring in 10. So like I say, I don't see this movie being that huge. But who knows? It could surprise me. Maybe because there's a lot of dog lovers out there, and they'll turn out in force to watch this one, to support them. All right. All right. Let's move on to BlacKkKlansman. So this movie is about a black rookie police officer who mastermind this plan to infiltrate the local KKK chapter by making phone calls to the chapter and saying he hates everything that's not white, and then to represent him in the clan is his co-worker played by Adam Driver. And there you go. That's the movie. How will this movie do at the box office? It's a Spike Lee movie, so I think this movie could probably open to 15 to 20 million since Spike Lee has his fans. But more than that, I'm not sure. Right. All right, let's move on to the next one on our list. This is the horror movie Slender Man. Doesn't star anybody, as with horror movies, right? About I think it's based on a recent phenomenon. I think a couple years ago, where some like female students murdered their friends, because they believe that Slender Man, this fictitious character, told them to do so, right? Has been a couple years later. I think people moved on from Slender Man already. But this one, it's about classmates trying to summon Slender Man so that they could discover where their missing friend or friend is, right? Has gone missing. So there's Slender Man. Again, a movie that I don't think will do that well. I see this maybe if they open it a couple years earlier when Slender Man was still in the news. But Slender Man now, I don't know. But then again, this is a horror movie. There might be some horror fans out there. But according to what I read out there, I don't see this movie to have that big of an appeal. So 8 to 10 for Slender Man, the opening. All right, let's move on to The Meg. It is a shark movie starring Jason Statham. So he's not playing this martial arts guy. He's playing a scientist. Yeah. And it also co-starring Li Bingbing, the Chinese actress. Ruby Rose is in here, and directed by John Turteltaub. You can see there's a lot of Asian faces in this one, so you can see that this is a China play. It's probably co-financed by Chinese company. Yeah, Jason Statham movies, as you know, he fell off his peak from long ago, with his Transporter movies, right? So it's a Jason Statham movie and a shark movie, but then again, we don't see what makes Jason Statham movies appealing, right? It's because of his martial arts. This movie doesn't need Jason Statham, right? But then again, we have the shark, which is I think a megalodon or something like that. It's like the biggest shark in the world, supposedly extinct, but it's here. So there you go. I don't see this movie having that big of an appeal as well, because hey, you don't get what Jason Statham brings, but then again, there's this giant shark, but it's not that interesting, I guess, right? So an opening of 15 to 20 million is what I foresee for The Meg. All right, so that's it for this week. Tune in next week to see how I did with my projections. Until then, take care. Bye bye.